The battle begins.
What? He broke intimidation on him. Damn, just running through them. No breaks, just straight zoomies.
Yeah.
Man's got zoomies.
Greetings, salutations. What's good, everybody? It's your boy Akard here, my partner in crime.
Hey guys, what's up? It's OTK.
And we're here for Soul Leveling episode 6, season 2. I'm excited. We got the warning from Crunchyroll of gore, blood, violence, because
Not gore, blood, violence.
yes, because there's going to be gore, blood, violence. At least that's what I'm expecting. So
Okay, HBO.
yeah, season 1, episode 6 was also the turning point in Soul Leveling where he killed his first humans. You know, in that dungeon, in the dungeon. This here, well, the anxiety from last week. I'm just gonna press this play button so we just get to it. Let's see.
Yeah, that's right. They're in the
Yes.
orc
Yes.
thing. That's right.
Yes.
That's right. We watch a lot of stuff. I be forgetting.
Oh man, Shahe
Girl, get
and the famous pickaxe.
Oh, girl, take that with you. Are you crazy? Yeah, okay. Going in there empty-handed. Wild.
Where most of the designs. Skip intro. Intro. Skip intro, bro.
Skip intro. That's it. We gotta go. Busy aura farming. That's why.
Yeah, that's straight aura farming.
DVD toilet, like the kids say. Ohio Riz.
Oh no. Sheesh.
Relax. Take a deep breath.
I mean, they are, you know, they were prepared to die, you know.
No, bro.
Oh,
First,
man.
Wait. Stop. Chill. Stop.
Yeah. He's with it.
dead.
All right. Ooh. Yeah, he's just toying with this man, bro. Oh man. Oh, they really gonna go with the animation. Oh man. Bro, everyone's here. Yeah, everyone is looking for this man. What is up with this?
Look,
Yeah.
you'll find out tomorrow. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Oh man. With a pickaxe.
In the hands of a skilled warrior, any
Yeah.
weapon, anything is a weapon.
Yeah. Oh man. Purple is here. The battle begins.
What? He broke intimidation on him. That's crazy.
Oh damn. Okay. Nah, it definitely was gonna be all right. They said gore, blood and gore. Okay. Oh. What?
Damn, just running through them. No breaks, just
Damn.
straight zoomies.
Yeah.
Man's got zoomies.
Yo, the mix up. And then you gotta worry about this guy. Can't turn your back, bro. Alright, Soul Leveling. Yep. Hey, it's a battle of mages.
At this point, it's all about how much MP you have.
Yeah. Yeah. Or.
Littering.
Oh man. That's a threat. Well, actually, well, that's more of a promise.
Oh. The game crack gags. Crack gags.
Oh man. Oh man. Why do we gotta hunt the humans though? Okay. I mean, my position, okay, yeah. That was fluid. All right, all right, Soul Leveling. Holy shit. Okay. There you go. Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Oh. They were just standing. He's like, don't even. You stay there.
Yeah.
Just you stay there.
Yeah, this camera work. This is similar to Castlevania. Took your mask off, bro.
Like, yeah. Bro, we're alive. We don't know what's going on, but we're alive, okay?
Yeah. We got new music. Wow.
He's trying to eat Maria's nachos.
Yeah, but he not Maria. He not her.
Yep. He's trying to re-eat Maria's nachos.
Yeah, all right, but that is OD. That is OD. Oh, nah. All right, we just flex it out here. We just flex it out here now. He said the floor is lava.
He said, "Oh, playing games? I guess we are."
Oh man. Animators. Okay. Yeah, everyone is like, what is going on? Say it. He's in his own lane. Damn, son. Damn, son. Yo, yeah, that's a callback to what happened in episode 1. Well, 2. Sheesh.
Hey, reincarnate as a slime.
Yeah.
Covering for him.
Oh man. What a way to just be like S rank, bro. Yep. You won't be needing that will anymore. Oh man. Oh, they're speeding straight to this. Oh, okay. All right. They cut it off just there. I was like, damn, I thought they were about to just speed straight to the next part. Like the way that they wrapped this up. Yeah, it's progressing as what I would think it. So given where this ended at, how fast they progress, yeah, it looks like we are going to get what the Jeju Island arc this season. Yeah. Oh man. Wow.
Really? We only have, I mean, what am I saying really? I don't even know how these
episodes. Yeah. We have seven more episodes. Yeah. 7 more episodes. Yeah, we're gonna get to the infamous Jeju Island arc this season. Yeah, because they considering how, like, I mean, a lot of it was spent on action, right? Like this episode, that was pretty much from minute 1 all the way into the very end, when he finally killed, which is now named Tusk, and then they handled, you know, the association coming to get him, try and of course, swooning over Sun Jinwoo slash about to get to the next portion with Jinho and more Sun Jinwoo stuff. Um, I think there's one more arc right now before the Jeju one, if I remember carefully. But yeah, we are progressing fast in terms of like there was no anime filler in this episode. If you want to call the battle scenes, because the battle there's a lot of stuff that battle wise did not happen in the webtoon, but you take liberties with those. Which still I mean, the last few weeks we just been watching up with Castlevania and the battle sequences in that, and they delivered in terms of for anime, like straight up anime. um yeah, this is like if we're talking about just Japanese anime. Well, I mean, this is Korean manga adapted to Japanese anime. But I don't think anything since JJK was even in the art direction slash battle sequence direction close to what we saw here. Um, I think I think for anime fans that would be the closest that they've seen in terms of like an action sequence. But if they've seen Castlevania, then you're getting that as well, pretty much in terms of like the action sequence and the direction. They really I think they outdid themselves with this. But what did you think? Because you're new to soul leveling, so yeah.
Yeah. So I trying to remember. I had three stipulations for why the dungeons are being misrepresented when scanning for magic. I think one was the system itself is like, okay, yeah, scan it, but then once you leave, we're gonna bump up the ship. Two, someone who's working isn't doing their job properly, and it's all part of a larger conspiracy. And I forgot what my third one was. I remember what the third one was. That as soon as Jinwoo enters, it just ups the level of the dungeon. The dungeon changes around him, right? The system is like, oh, you're joining us. Okay, so now we really got to push you because you're the chosen one. It just makes me wonder if he wasn't there, would this have still happened? So like that's like the third one. So with this episode, when the Orc Summoner has a face crack, essentially a system crack, a system breakdown, he was like Montoya. He it goes to show you that the system is playing a game here. Essentially, there's something going on, and he mirrors the same sentiment that the elf knight fighter says in that episode. Like, there's just something in us that's telling us to hunt humans. The system is pushing monsters to hunt humans. So it seems that these monsters are, like he said, I woke up and I was just here, but something inside of me was telling me to kill these humans. So are these monsters even actual monsters, right? Are they part of another dimension, or is it just like a larger AI system that's creating these things, right? Or you could still farm and stuff, because you could still like technically farm from AI. And if this AI system is making physical things, because it's making a physical dungeon for people to enter, right? They're not putting on headgear. It's not a VR set. It's constructing something for people to go into. So it needs materials that it's pulling from somewhere, right? Unless it is all that big AI system, and by the end, like the very, very end, everything just disappears out of the world because it's all just computer generated, right? But yeah, um, so it's like, are these monsters actual monsters, or are they just creations by the system? One, two, are they monsters and just being enslaved by the system? Just does this is the larger system at hand, like, I need to see who the strongest is to see who can take over what realm? Like, is it like one of those omnipotent god situations where we're just gonna pit two races or two species against each other to see the survival of the fittest, who survives and who could sit on top the throne, and if they're worthy, right? Like, um like the whole concept of aliens coming down and taking us, then bringing us to some otherworldly battle pit. Can you fight for your race? um and if you do win in this battle pit, the earth gets to live another day, kind of thing, right? um so him having that breakdown, it's like it's also, it just makes you wonder. It's like that's kind of like what I've been saying through a bunch of these episodes, right? Like he's just a baby. He doesn't know he's like when he was fighting the bears. Like now it really is like, oh no, I really do think these are creatures or whatever who can't control what they're doing, right? And it's just like, oh no, they're being killed for no reason, right? Because they're being pushed to hunt, they're being pushed to kill by this otherworldly thing that's influencing them to hurt humans. And I'm not saying that, even if that wasn't there, that they wouldn't do that, right? Because animals and humans protect their territory from the unknown, right? And attack without much provocation to protect their space. But for the amount of abject rage and on-siteness that these monsters do, right? It is very like, yo, it feels like it's a big grand push. But yeah, so uh I think it really does come down to whenever Jinwoo's father comes back and whatever secrets he's holding about the system itself, or about the gates and stuff since he was stuck there for so long. Um, because he's like the missing key to information. Like we're getting breadcrumbs here and there with how the system keeps glitching. And I just gotta figure like at some point a monster's gotta be smart enough to override the system to be able to talk to Jinwoo like, whoa, 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 don't cut my head off, bro. Something's not right. Something's not right. And then he glitches back and that whole jazz that happens all the time. You know when someone's under like um a spell and they're being possessed, and then all of a sudden there's like a point of clarity where you're telling the main character, wait, it's not me, it's really no, and then they go back to being possessed, and then the main character starts to fight them and kill them, and then you see the last seconds and the last little bits of their life going, oh, you know what I mean? So like obviously that's kind of the progression that it feels is gonna happen here. Now, you've obviously read the whole thing. I don't know exactly which way the creator wants to go with this, but yeah, it's like I said, it's at least it's leaving you three separate options that we can go through. Either way, where Jinwoo's actually going to figure out what the larger scheme of all this is. Like he's your main character, so obviously there's no trade-off, right? There's no point in where Jinwoo dies and then it's like new main character, right? Okay.
I'm not saying anything at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. I literally, you asked me a question that I could literally not answer.
Okay.
Without spoilers.
Okay. Yeah. In some of these shows they do that where they're like hyping up a main character for so long, but then they come up against something so powerful, or it I don't ever think Jinwoo's ever gonna get a little too cocky because I don't feel that about him. Like I think he gets in his head a lot when he's in the mix, but it's never like he's never not aware of it in a way, right? He's not like all these other characters where they're like, all right, I'm ready to box, right? He's always like, I gotta observe first, gotta take a look. If things get too crazy, then I gotta go in there. And the only time I gotta show my smugness and my superiority is when these monsters keep yapping away, and I gotta be like, look, bro, that's not how it's gonna happen, right?
Yeah, because he grew into that,
right?
Yeah,
and then he goes back to being a regular nice guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes these stories do that, right? Where even your main character who could think at the drop of a dime could still come up against something, and then because he falls, someone he's mentoring or someone who's really close to him has to take up the mantle, or the guilds around him are like, oh shit, so this is a guy that we thought was the most powerful just fell. Now we got to figure out what the fuck is really going on here, right? It also makes me wonder, like I said, is Jinwoo the only person in the whole world that can see the system, is a system player? Could it be that he's the only one in Korea that's a system player? And like, okay, so you know how in ReZero, I was gonna call him Okarun. Jesus Christ, we're watching so many things. Subaru can't talk about his curse. Otherwise, the witch, like, she grabs it.
See how I'm getting mixed up. Okabe, Okarun, Steins Gates, Dandadan,
There's just a lot lot of things happening. Peter Parker. You know how when Peter Parker talks about his curse, and then the witch is like, nope. Like, is that a thing that's gonna happen here with Jinwoo, where he's like, finally is like ready to tell someone, but the system is like glitch, like it won't allow him, or like he's telling the person, and you know how in Agatha All Along where Billy is just saying his name, but every time like Agatha can't hear it at the beginning, like it's just because he's got the sigil on him. Is it like that where he's expressing, he's talking, but whoever is around him is listening, is just like, what? I can't hear a thing that you're saying. Like, how is the game gonna really push this situation, right? Is the game gonna be like, no, reset, like with Subaru, or is it gonna be like, with Agatha, no, you can't hear it. Now you have to figure out why people can't hear you. What's gonna push him to really, like, I feel like he's the kind of character who's going to care why the system is in place eventually. Like really question it. I think like right now his goal is to get the life elixir for his mother, which fair. But if the game keeps pushing him to be a player, obviously you've reached your goal, you got the serum, your mom's alive, but the system keeps like, no, you still got to do all this shit, and it's like, okay, but why now? Why do I like? Is he that kind of guy to want to push forward in questioning the system itself? Yeah, I think I like this episode. I thought the animation was really great. The fight scenes were really engaging. Really fluid, very nicely done. Sound design was really great too. I don't think it was as bloody and gory as I assumed it would be when we started the episode. I guess because we also did just finish Castlevania, and that shit was kind of wild.
Because it pretty much the blood and gore was the same level, and I think now like I would have to expect something like crazier, because we got pretty much the same level of blood and gore in Castlevania that we got in this, because I mean when the vampires are getting murked, it was the same as the orcs here. Orcs. So that's why I was like, okay. I mean, I mean, for a lot of other people who haven't seen Castlevania, they would be like,
whoa, that's a lot, right? It's also like, I think my only negative is when this girl was like, oh, do you think he thought I was weird? Like, bitch, stand up. Stand up. What are you talking about? I hate, like, look, I just hate when any show of any kind does that, that where you have a strong character, a strong female character, and then all of a sudden she becomes like a simpering, whimpering boy. Like, you throw that little boy craziness in. That really irks the fuck out of me. Like, I get it. Like, no, I don't get it, because I fucking hate it. You could try to play it off as because, like, well, because he's different, right? She just saw how different he was, right? It's possible that he can meet her standards of difference. So she's never been able to get like that caught up about, like, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. I really fucking, like, don't, like, it's one of those things too where I know your main protag is a man, and it's about his journey and stuff like that. I don't need all the women around him to like fall to their knees and swoon, especially ones that were higher ranked than him and can handle their own. Like, I really fucking hate that. I truly despise that. Truly despise that. Like, she don't need to be swooning. She really doesn't. Like, girl, be strong. Stand the fuck up. If that's gonna be a continued thing, then I'm like, I don't want to see her. I really don't, because I can't watch a bad bitch go down like that. That's just so lame. So fucking lame. Ugh, I want to throw up. But there's that.
I cannot confirm or deny any of your theories. It's literally going to be what I can tell you is that most of your theories are going to be answered in the next season.
Like season 3?
Season 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because season 3 pretty much will handle a lot of your questions. I mean, you might get a little hints in the last few episodes and whatnot on those grander theories, some of the grander theories you have, but in terms of your main questions, they start to get answered, which would be in the season 3, leading up to the finales of what will happen in a season 4. This is just going, so I'm assuming there's only gonna be 4 seasons of Soul Leveling, and the second season is like covering up to like chapter 100 or so. And then I figure, season 3 will be all the way up to 150, and then the last season will probably the last 50 chapters or so. And then if they continue to go on with season 5, then that will be the next portion of Soul Leveling, which I'm not going to spoil, because if I even say it, then I'll just say there is a potential for season 5 and beyond. But if I were to say it, well, that's a massive spoiler as well about what would happen. Yeah. Let me see. Is there anything else I want to mention? Because I mean, yeah, the episode itself. Yeah, I mean, because we saw Castlevania, the gore was the same. The gore was the same. Everything was bloody. They outdid. I would say they outdid the webtoon. They did do that by far. And yeah, once again, I think this gives hope for a lot of other webtoons, like the copycat webtoons that follow after Soul Leveling. Some of them have, might have better writing, but I think the attention to detail that this series has gotten for a series that's not made in Korea, I mean not made in Japan, but made in South Korea, could give credence to like this is what anybody can this is what can be animated for another person that wants to say have a Japanese anime, right? Hopefully I said that correctly, but yeah, like essentially if like say that someone from the UK for random like made a manga or made a webtoon and they got adapted into an anime, this is what it could look like. For a long time, webtoon adaptations were just not getting the proper attention to detail that they should have gotten, especially animation wise. And my hope was that Soul Leveling would start that trend of good adaptations, especially for action based ones. And Soul Leveling being as cookie cutter as it comes when it comes to the action in the plot line, like sure it's gonna have we're gonna have these other overlaying story to it, right? Soul Leveling isn't a ReZero, right? It isn't a I mean it isn't a Seimushuko Tensei or anything like that, where there's a lot more story to build upon, and then there's some great action sequences. Soul Leveling, as we've seen so far, is just a lot of action, right? And the plot and the fantasy usually takes more of a backseat, but when it is introduced, it's there to, of course, advance the story. So there's a lot of stories that follow suit with that have become popular webtoons and mangas. So later this year, there are actually there's four big series that are coming out this year, and they're literally called like a lot of people dub it as like the big four fantasy web novels. Soul Leveling was one. The other one is called The Beginning After the End. A lot of people are not that happy with the animation company at the moment, but we'll see if it does well. Then there's Omniscient Reader, where that one was definitely directly compared to Soul Leveling because it's the same company that was doing the webtoon was doing that, but that's more so like the flip. It's the flip of it, where it is more story and the action is there as well, but that one is more of like a survivalist. But the type of action and story that's what people hail greater than Soul Leveling. And then there's a Chinese anime slash donghua coming out in April, which is called Lord of Mysteries, and that one is being held like that might be a breaking of the internet one, but that one, from what everyone's saying, it's like ReZero slash in terms of this like story, but with Soul Leveling type action. That's what they're doubling it as. So, but a lot of these things, I tend to believe like a lot of these things started to have faith because of anime adaptations that like a Soul Leveling would give rise to. But it only I just want to see what things look like in the future, because this is one of the very few anime that we have that has a system, right? Because that's one thing that you mentioned. System based anime, is very rare. Funny enough, when it's like this, where you have stats, where you can keep growing as you are like leveling up and stuff like that. So that became the meta for a lot of web novels moving forward, and what we call lit RPG, because they were more prevalent. Lit RPGs were super prevalent here in the States when it's mainly web novels, but none of them really have gotten anime adaptations. So this is one of the more popular ones that got an anime adaptation as well. So that's just a little bit on the Soul Leveling side of things.
I'll say this for a lot of the fantasy stuff that Japan has already in the backlogs of content. Fucking do a Shining Force. Do an actual Final Fantasy one. Like, they're so like I'm watching the success of this and just and other things like Dungeon Meshi, and the fact that a Japanese animated Lord of the Rings movie came out or is coming out. Like, I'm like, tap into this shit. Do this, like, because I'm a big fantasy girl. I love fantasy. I'm very much 70s, 80s, 90s fantasy movies. Like, that's I love that shit. So yeah. I mean, it could definitely work, and we're seeing how these kind of RPG style things can work in the modern era. So
yeah, because a lot of it is usually held to isekai, right? Isekai has dominated Japan in the last like 10 years. That's been the number one thing. And some isekais have like a system, but isekais they're very hit or miss. You know, there's a lot more trash than there is a lot of good when it comes to isekai, especially because they just keep pumping them out. Like every season, there's probably like 6 isekai series. Like hell, I'm watching this right now, like 6 isekai series. But when you have Solo Leveling, which I believe would be under low fantasy, let me double check. Solo Leveling, low fantasy. I think that's what you call. This one's like a low fan. Yeah, this is generally considered a low fantasy, because it's in the modern world, but or magical realism is the better term. Where we're in the modern world and we have fantastical elements with it. So there isn't a whole lot of low fantasy because usually it's just straight up isekai. You know, in like Omniscient Reader is technically a low fantasy, even though that series I'm not gonna even get into that one because that one like, I'll just say Omniscient Reader is low fantasy because it takes place in the modern world and basically that book comes to life. Like I was just say that someone was reading a book and they became like the only one reading the book, and then that book literally become the world. Like the incident made it so that that world started to come alive in the book. But he's the only person that knows how this book is supposed to go, as the world is literally turning to shit. And so now it's like a survival type of thing. They even get like there's like a whole Jurassic Park thing too, but we're not gonna get to that one. Then there's the beginning after the end, which is Mushoku Tensei without being a pervert, essentially. But it's a king that gets reincarnated, and it's his life all in his journey, and then you get your high fantasy. And then the Lord of Mysteries is more medieval, where a person died and they get transported or transmigrated, and they wake up in a person's body, and it's a mystery of why this person killed themselves or tried to kill themselves, and then all these other high fantasy fantastical stuff. So Final Fantasy, I would love to see a true or a brand new IP of Final Fantasy, for like an anime itself, one that actually gets some dedication to, or just any of these other ones that dabble with more high fantasy stuff. I mean, there's also more science fiction stuff that can be done. I mean, there's a lot on the table, more than just the isekai. Regression, which is a newer thing. Well, Korea is being dominated by regression, and regression is basically if you start at point A and you were to die, then you come back years beforehand and you get like a do-over. So it's not a full-on or not a full-on like reincarnated in another world, but you return back to a point where you can change things type of thing. That's what they call like regression type series. Yeah, there's a lot they can do with the future of the next decade for like animation. Maybe they'll do more stuff like Castlevania,
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But that took an American team to be like, oh, this Japanese fantasy IP about Dracula and shit. Hey, let's make a show about it, right? Yeah. So, and I know a lot of it has to do with what game companies are no longer running or what IPs they have on lock and key, but like like just to branch back off, like I think about what Square does and how Square has all these IPs that are just middling in limbo, doing a whole lot of fuck ass nothing for them to keep doing, in my opinion, mid Final Fantasy games. Now they're mid because of their stance on women and diversity in people of color, and how it's all just looking, in my opinion, the last handful of games the same. To me, a Final Fantasy game hasn't looked different since Dissidia, and that's because they were like, hey, let's throw every main character into this pot and see how every story differs, and how we can craft a story around what the larger world, what the larger grand scheme of all this is. And I think honestly, if they're gonna do anything Final Fantasy, I think they should go the Dissidia route, because there's opportunity to bring in every character from a character or two from every game to get new people interested in every single piece of the franchise. And it isn't just modern; it's modern and classical fantasy, right? Because like Final Fantasy 1 to 5, even though there might be some technological elements, like maybe to 6 technological elements, there are no phones, there are no like cars, there are dragons and espers and a magic system, but they're still steam powered and trains, and things like that. Whereas when you're getting into 7, it's more high tech, and then further it gets more and more high tech. I think 9 kind of regresses back into more of the higher fantasy than the modernism. But like after that, it's still like, okay, now we're incorporating phones and we're incorporating cars and this and da 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 da. But because of how vast the franchise and the IP is, like I think pulling from all of it would just reinvigorate people's interest in all aspects of it. And it fits, in my opinion, with the direction that they are going with fantasy, right? In gaming, we just got Castlevania, we have Free Reign, we have Dungeon Meshi, we have this. So it might like those 4 shows alone show that every piece of Final Fantasy from 1 to, what are they on, 16 now, can work. And these are all elements that the general larger audience is interested in. So yeah, Square, get off your goddamn dumbasses and fucking do something. Or like Breath of Fire, like Sunstone, or like
I want gold. I just want.
Golden Sun. Yeah, Golden Sun. I mean, imagine a Power Stone anime, but like that's a fighting game. Yeah. But that's a fighting game with fantasy elements. But like I said, like Breath of Fire, Shining Force. There's so many IPs and stories that like. Of course, I want fresh and new ideas, but like, you guys got stuff. You guys got a lot of really good stuff there.
Yeah, if they're because I know Golden Sun is not owned by that's Camelot, but if there was a Golden Sun anime, bro, oh man, one could dream. One could dream. I gotta see my boy Isaac and my girls like. Yeah,
like legit, considering also how big Lord of the Rings constantly is, and how big A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, and House of Dragon like keep kind of refreshing people's interest in fantasy. But how these kind of shows don't sell you on the fantasy because they want to drop it in more realism and modernism, but still trying to be like old timey speak. It's like, that's not how it works. But you guys are getting people interested in magic systems and dragons. That means a lot of this stuff could work again. It could be like the 80s again, where we're just throwing out fantasy films every 6 months and everyone's having a good time. Legend, Crow, like, so there's Excalibur. There's just, we used to be a proper country. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot to think about, and I enjoy that this show is, at least with Solo Leveling, it's showing that you can adapt what's essentially old school fantasy into a modern setting. And pull it off.
Oh man. Well, I guess with that said, folks, we'll leave it there. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and we'll be catching you guys for the next episode of Solo Leveling.